Gruesome Magazine.
Hello, once again. I am your host, Doc Rotten, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and video on-demand horror movies. Each week, my co-hosts, Jeff Mohr, Crystal Cleveland, Christopher G. Mohr, and myself will take a look at very spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. Tonight, we're reviewing Dark Nature. Let me introduce my crew, starting off with Jeff Mohr. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing great. This is, well, I'll save it. I'm doing great.
Ooh, so mysterious.
Jeez. All right. Also joining us is award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Mohr.
What's up? I forgot my bear spray, so I hope we can make it through this and without any bloodshed.
Bear spray and bloodshed. There's the title of this review. All right. Before we get into the review, I just want to share that we are celebrating 10 years of H&R Gruesome Magazine and Decades of Horror. We started in 2013 reviewing Evil Dead when it came out. That was our first episode, and we began our celebration this year with our review of Christopher G. Mohr's favorite film of the year, Evil Dead Rise, and we will be celebrating all year long and up through February of 2024 when we have our inaugural Grue-Crew. That's right. Be 3 days of horror and fun in the sun on a cruise ship, having a ball. If you want to find out more about that, head over to gruesomemagazine.com/Grue-Crew.
Yes. Do it.
Yepper.
Do it. All right. What we're going to do tonight is we're going to review Dark Nature. We're going to give you our first impressions. Those first impressions will be spoiler-free. And then we'll get into a discussion because there are spoilers. And we'll talk about everything. And then we'll get into our score, 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. And, of course, we hope you enjoy not only this review, but many others that we have on the site. And if you do, please hit the like, subscribe, share with a friend buttons so we can find more horror fans just like you.
One of us.
Join us. All right. Dark Nature 2023 from Epic. It's available in selected theaters on May 19th, on demand and digital everywhere on May. I might have said the wrong. Did I say May 19th? I meant to. May 23rd. And that's weird. It says 23rd and the 14th. That is so strange. And on Blu-ray, June 25th. Where did that 14th come from? I don't know. Synopsis is, it tells the story of a therapy group that is forced to confront the monsters of their past when an isolated weekend retreat tests their emotional resilience and ability to survive. Is directed by Brady. It's written by Brady and Tim Cairo. The cast includes Madison Walsh, Hannah Emily Anderson, Helen Bailey, Kira Harper, Daniel Smith Arnold, and Roseanne Supernaut. Tagline is, don't look for monsters. Don't look for monsters. Just don't. All right, let's find out what our first impressions are. Jeff, sir, you are up first.
First impressions. Okay. So, there's a situation. First half of this movie, our lead, Hannah Emily Anderson as Joy, is in a situation where she can't get out of it. She's sort of forced to, I don't know. The first half of the movie was a situation that makes me feel really uncomfortable. So whatever they were doing, it worked because I just was creeped out. I don't like being in situations like that. The last half of the movie did not work as well for me, and I got to tell you, I just don't really know exactly what was going on. I don't know how much to say because I don't want to spoil anything, but great locations are great. You know, I thought the cinematography was good. But the it just, I don't know. It just didn't make sense to me. I'll get into a little more detail later. That was the biggest flaw for me, I think.
Well, movie's got to make sense.
Something.
Got to do it. All right, Christopher G. Mohr, what was your first impression of Dark Nature?
Yeah. This I could sort of see how people might compare this to movies like The Descent or other things. Because it has that kind of element, a group of women going off on a trip. And I think it, like, I agree with Jeff. It kind of starts off very uncomfortable, but in a good way, because it sort of sets the stage for this woman and the trauma that she's been through. And then she goes on this trip with these people that are trying to help her get through it or get around it. But I will say that I think this is the worst way to deal with trauma, and not a great way to tell a story about it. I think by the end, it kind of, it doesn't do justice to the trauma she's been through, and the story doesn't make a lot of sense as to. And I will say, I agree with Jeff that it is shot well. I think at the very end credits, they mentioned that it was shot in the land of certain tribes, Native American tribes or whatever.
Yeah, it was in the Rockies, the Canadian Rockies, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So they had some really great places they got to shoot that really added to the production value of it. But the sad part is you have all this production value, but you don't have a really great story or great characters to make that work. And even when we have the element of monsters in the woods, it just looks like a bunch of crap thrown on a person with a sideways smile or whatever. And how they work the trauma into it, I think is just feels, that made me feel uncomfortable that they tried to the way it plays out story wise. So yeah, this movie doesn't work at all. And then there's kind of stupid scenarios that happen, and it really doesn't make any kind of sense why all these different characters are kind of like not really helping as much. Why you put somebody who's already kind of majorly triggered by a certain event in the situation. So yeah, I think story wise, it's just, it feels incomplete. It doesn't feel like it does justice to the trauma that's being dealt with in the story, which needs to be it can be a very tricky thing if you incorporate that in your story, but if you don't tell it in the right way, it just looks, especially the trauma that happens at the very beginning, which, and I will say this, trigger warning, it does involve an animal, a dog. So just know that going into it, if you're triggered by that. That happens in the very first 10 minutes or so. So yeah, this film doesn't work for me. That makes any sense.
Doesn't work. Oh no. So there's okay. I'm not too far off from you guys, and I really wish Crystal was able to to be here, not show up, but to be here. Unfortunately, her screener didn't work for her, but because I really would like her input on this. But I really like the characters, but ironically, I didn't like the characters together. Like individually, I like the actresses and the character they were playing, but interacting together in this environment just really was weird and forced, and didn't really, didn't feel like anything good was going to come out of it from the get-go, and made you question everything. The locations are beautiful though. The woods and when they're going along the creek, and when they're in the little cave area or not the cave, but the cavern. It's like a small cavern with like a little walkway through something. I'm not even sure how you describe that, Jeff, or do you know how to describe that? Yeah. Okay. I'll stop. I'm going nowhere with that.
Well, it's a little way station kind of thing.
Yeah. So it's, what really bugged me was I was always questioning why would this group ever do this? And for me, that prevented me from ever getting involved with the actual story, what they were trying to do, and it just felt so forced and shoved together. Um, and the monster's fine. There is, it does shift gears. Although I'm not sure there's some throughways that went over my head. I didn't catch it, or they're not there, or I'm not really sure 100% what was going on. So I came out of it confused, not very satisfied. So it's not a strong picture for me either, unfortunately, because the effort's there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's definitely a, it's not haphazard or careless. This is a very professionally made film. It's just structurally and script wise, it doesn't really.
It's shot well, and it's shot and they have some really beautiful scenery they were able to shoot at. But story wise, a lot of it doesn't make any kind of sense, and then it's like, and you can try to, let's say we're already in spoilers, but
we're in spoilers now. So yeah.
But yeah, trying to explain like certain elements away because of the possible infiltration of, toxic chemicals or whatever's in the water, still doesn't explain that. You have these monsters, but then we don't even get any kind of explanation about them at all. Like and then it's like 1 minute they can drag a whole tent through this forest. The next minute they can't get through a few twigs that are covering a beaver dam. So it doesn't make any kind of sense, like what, but so.
Well, you don't even know if it's real because, going into it, it was all, they're seeing things and they're all unreliable narrators in that respect.
Well,
so
true.
When it gets to the point of the creature, it was, I was trying to figure out, are they saying the creature's causing it? Is an environment causing it? Is there actually a creature? And I'm not sure if that was intentional.
Yeah. And that's what kind of got to me is, first off, the part that made me uncomfortable is, well, number one, our lead character is abused by her boyfriend or whatever he is, partner. And then number two, her friend takes her out on this wilderness thing kind of against her will. Several times she wants to turn back and everybody just says, they just kind of ignore her to the point of where she gets to a place where,
well, I got the impression that she had originally agreed to it, but
originally
didn't want to go through with it, and they were holding her to it.
And
it's like an intervention.
Then they get up to a place where there's, obviously, I guess you get to a place where there's no cell signal or anything. So now it's like, now I'm screwed. I can't back out of this. There's no place for me to go. I can't, and then they go doing things that are really kind of dangerous, for somebody that's not a seasoned hiker, in my opinion. So there's all of that. Then we get to you guys are talking about the voices and the whispering and the kind of strange movements, but at the same time, she's having these hallucinations about her relationship where I'm trying to remember it because I thought somebody else was having a hallucination too. Tara,
the other girl was as well.
So I didn't know where that stuff came from. Was that supposed to be because it was some sort of spiritually haunted place, or was it from the hazardous chemicals they saw in the stream, or it just was. At some point I'm like, well, what are all this whispering and stuff? It looks like everybody's on drugs is what it seemed like. So
because they did mention that
there's spirits or whatever.
The natives
right, they mentioned that too.
So up there and sacrifice something, and
so it felt like they threw like so many things in there. It was hard to really get a handle on what was going on. And then when the thing finally pops up, the creature, then it becomes more straightforward, I guess. It's a survival against the creature thing, and I gotta give it to her. I mean, although I was going to say Madison had an arc because she seemed fairly helpless and let her ex do all kinds of crazy shit to her and kept going back. That standard story that's so tragic. But by the end, she stepped up, and was helping to save her friends. But then now that I think back, something we find out later. Maybe it wasn't as big an arc as I thought. But anyway. So yeah, it's beautiful. It had a lot of tension. That whole first part was uncomfortable as hell to me when she's trapped and can't get out of there, and it keeps getting more and more dangerous, and everybody just ignores her. And that doctor drove me nuts. I mean, the acting was fine. I just thought this is like a cult situation. Apparently, these four girls all had, trusted beyond belief into this person, and I didn't see any evidence.
Yeah, the only one I bought
for that.
The only one I bought was the Army veteran. That was her.
Right.
That was the only one I bought. The rest of them, even our the friend seemed a little.
Yeah, Carmen.
Yeah, a little. I mean, she more so than the other two girls, but
the whole scenario doesn't make sense. That is a very dangerous situation, and you have several people that are mentally unstable to some degree. You only have one person that really knows about how to get around the forest. So if she's killed by a bear, the rest of them are screwed. So it's a really stupid situation for any kind of mental health facility. You need to have very safe environments for people for that kind of to work out, But yeah, that to me that, and then I don't know, I didn't see any kind of. I really didn't see any kind of chemistry between any of the people. Even her friend there wasn't a lot of chemistry between them. It just
I didn't buy that they were friends.
No, I didn't buy that at all. And then also I didn't even buy that the military veteran was working for the thing. They just all seemed like individual characters from their different movies.
I bought the friend when she later on they have the discussion. Excuse me. I have the discussion that the friend says this was her last chance because she's so fed up with her. So she's kind of like half pissed off at her all the time,
Yeah, I'll give you that. I think that was the only time I felt any kind of connection there. But the majority of the time, it just seemed like everybody was, ragging on each other, and and then I don't know. But then it's like. Yeah, again, they threw all these different things, but they don't really substantiate it. They really don't create a foundation for it. So then the monster, it just seems like, again, that's another thing that is threw in there that doesn't really have any kind of connection to everything else, Yeah. And you don't want it, and you also don't want it to be like sort of that the normal thing. Oh, well, it's on Native American land, so there has to be spirits, So it's like at least lean into it if that's the case, but then it's like throwing all these million different things and not giving any kind of explanation or any kind of explanation for what's happening in that cave other than they're dragging there to, I guess, possibly eat or whatever. But again, we don't have any, or give some examples of how to fight this thing. And then the way she fights it is to embrace her trauma, which is the most ridiculous. I felt like that was
But okay, so I was curious about that.
I hated that all. I hated that so much.
I was curious about that because, like the Army veteran, when the creature attacked, she went into full hallucination, right?
Yeah.
So hang on one second. So she, but then she either fell or was drug off the side of the mountain. And then when she confronted our lead confronted it in the cave, was that her, or I mean, what was causing the hallucination of her? Was it the monster trying to get close, or was it her trying to? It just wasn't clear. It wasn't clear what they were trying to say.
That would have been interesting if maybe it's a monster that feeds off people's trauma, or something to that effect. And I will tell you right now, if those people who love dogs, somebody kills your dog, I'm sorry. I know too many people, their dogs are their precious thing. They love their dog more than the human they're with. And you kill your dog. If you kill their dog, that's
if you ever go into a movie and you look up, does a dog die.com thing, this movie is going to trigger you. It's too cute a dog to do that.
But that's not. I don't think they'd be able to get over the death of their dog.
Well,
I
don't think I'm not gonna. I wouldn't pretend to know what it's like to be in an abusive situation like that and be.
She was definitely codependent. Yeah, there was a lot of things going on
beyond that. Yeah.
Yeah, beyond that, yeah, exactly. And it's unfortunately it's not a it's a real problem that exists out there for a lot of people. You know, they get into these situations and they're emotionally trapped there. So I get what they're after, and I respect what they're going for. It's just that, I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, these nature outings are not a real thing. I don't know, but it just seems like, in the circumstance with this, where they're purposely going to be talking and discussing about these trickery items, that it just asking for trouble. I don't know. It just made me It just made me weirded out the whole movie.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's like most horror films. They usually make stupid decisions or do things that you normally wouldn't do, you know. And
yeah, what's that one commercial? Let's go hide in that garage with all the axes and
Oh,
chainsaws.
Perfect.
Let's go out in the wilderness that's haunted by the Native American curse. And the hazardous chemicals and
but individually our actors do a great job in their characters. It's just together it doesn't fly. You know, there's reasons I liked each and every one of them.
I don't I disagree, but yeah,
You know,
I think they were all very meh to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they are.
I
think again, the strength is the visuals and the location.
Mm-hmm.
But I think part of that probably had to do with the script they had to deal with. And yeah, I think it just, everything was very meh to me.
Because I can think of times when there's certain exchanges and character moments that I think work. Like, I think we mentioned the one scene about her friend, our lead's best friend, had too much.
Yeah.
And then there's the other girl that's having the same experiences, the one with the big eyes. I always think, because she had the dark shadow.
Oh, she did.
Tara. And the two of them, when they were discussing it after that happened, and they kind of bonded a little bit, there was something going on there. And then there was one discussion with our lead and the guru, psychiatrist lady, whatever she is, on the rocks by the creek bed, that, you know, it was really interesting and was getting into the meat of what this whole outing was, and needed to happen a lot sooner, I guess is what I might say. But so there's moments, but never with all five of them together. So I don't know. I wanted to like it a lot more than I did.
Yeah, I did too, because and it's weird to me. Again, to me, it felt like two different movies. You know, there was the first half, and then the last half. Anyway,
I think there are elements here that could have made a better film, but it kind of all falls apart by the end, because they're not developed enough to really, for it to make sense, or for a lot of things to really, the way it happened, the where it does, because again, when we have all these multiple things thrown in, you know, a kitchen sink of all these different elements, but
no, I feel like there's a key element that just went over my head that I didn't get. And maybe
right.
Maybe
the only thing I can come up with is the title is Dark Nature. There's something,
and I'll say I didn't
something there, but anyway,
I didn't like the design of the monster either. So
I didn't have a problem with it, but yeah, I can.
Yeah, it seemed like, I don't know.
It was like a mud-covered troglodyte thingy.
It was like Tar Man, but worse.
I didn't have a problem with it, actually, but I it's not overly developed, as in, you know, it's not extravagant. It's very earthy. Anyway, let's go ahead and wrap this up, and let's go a score 1 to 5 and our favorite scene. Jeff, you're up first. Jeff, oh god,
almost made me do a spectac there.
He just had his internet thing, and there was a great comment from Jeff. All right, we'll get back to Jeff. Christopher G. Mohr, go ahead and give us your score and your favorite scene. Jeff's back, but we'll get to you, Jeff, here in just a second.
I'll
Don't you
give-
freeze up too?
I'll give this a I'll give it a 2.25.
Oh wow, okay, that's better than I thought you were gonna give.
I mean, it's shot visually, it's shot well, and you know the location.
Mhm.
But everything else not so much. Good.
Favorite
Pick a
scene?
scene.
Pick one. It's gotta be one. He's struggling, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, you see the smoke coming out of his ears.
I guess I'll say the opening scene where we see the initial trauma thing happen. I guess. But yeah, there's not a lot I can say that was a favorite scene of mine.
All right, so I'll go next while we wait for Jeff to get back online. I was going to give it a 2.5. You know, it just kind of, you know, using Crystal's way of, you know, coming up with a is average. Favorite scene. I can't, you know, okay, so I don't know. It's like every scene kind of wanted to be a favorite scene, and then something didn't quite gel with it. Like I kind of want to pick when the tent gets pulled away, you know, with the girl in it, because that's kind of creepy and scary, but it left questions. So, but I'm going to go with that just because the idea of that is just like, when something gets you and you're in, you know, and you go into, you think the tent's going to save you. It's just a fabric tent. It's not going to save you. I've watched way too many horror movies to know that.
Unless you're
But it's like pulling the covers over you if you can't see it.
Absolutely. That's the best defense.
So what did you guys, what scores did you guys give it?
I gave it 2.5. Christopher gave it 2.25.
I got 2.5 written down here. So
all right.
And I'm going to put that in terms of the first half versus the second half. The first half, I was totally creeped out, uncomfortable with lots of stuff that was going on and just on edge. But once I saw I don't know, it just, like we've already said. Yeah, it kind of fell apart. All right. Favorite scene. Yes, I too. Struggling a bit. Let's see. I'm going to say, oh, this is terrible. When the doctor goes off in the woods by herself and then you hear her scream and then it's like, I was glad of that. That was the type of character. I liked it. I mean, it's the type of character that I just hate. That trope of a analyst or whatever it is that
the guru.
It's supposed to be saying these wise things, and it just.
Why did you go off in the woods alone? You know you don't do that. Anyway, yes, I get it. Yeah.
Like when they found that was the bloody buckle or whatever, and she's like, "You trying to scare us to help with trauma?"
Yes,
I might.
Yes.
Oh no!
Yeah.
What?
Like no.
Would that help?
Would that help? Yeah. It's like,
oh my god.
Whose foot was that too? Was that her?
I think that was hers.
Or was that?
Was that her foot?
Shayna's?
I don't know. It wasn't clear. But anyway, there you go. That's our review of Dark Nature. Again, it's digital everywhere as we speak, and it'll be on Blu-ray the 25th of June. Check it out and leave your comments down below. Let us know what you think and what did we miss? What went over our heads? I feel like something did. Maybe not. I don't know. But I want to hear from you. All right, Jeff. Christopher. Thank you for joining me. This was a lot of fun. I
thought you froze for a second.
I'm falling asleep as we speak. Yes.
That might be the definition of a brain fart.
Yeah.
Right live on camera, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's get out of this. Say goodnight.
Good night.
Goodbye, everybody.